Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Hutchinson City Council for Tuesday, December 23rd, 2025. We'll call the meeting to order. Approve the council agenda. Any agenda additions or corrections?
Mayor and Council, I have one, deletion for you. I'd ask that you remove item 7C1. That's under the consent agenda. That's the reappointment of Troy Pullis. He has actually submitted a letter of resignation, so he will not be serving on the board. So we have a vacancy on there that will have to look to be filled. So.
Motion to approve with the correction or deletion.
I'll make that a motion.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Pat to approve the agenda with the deletion. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Invocation. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Pastor Mark McCaleb from Harvest Mission Fellowship in Hutch. Little itty bitty congregation, but the Lord works and He will grow it. So, but let's bow our heads in prayer. Father God, we just come before you. We want to thank you for the council that is assembled here, the people that are here. You've said in your word that if we acknowledge you in all our ways, that you will direct our paths. And I would ask, Lord, that you would direct each and every one of these members as the important decisions are being made, that they would go to you, because we know, Lord, that if we come to you and ask, that you will guide us and that decision will be right. So we ask this in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Next, a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Recognition of gifts, donations to the or in community service to the city. Does anybody have anything? All right, citizens addressing the council, just please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Mary Gonzalez. I live here in Hutchinson. I am under the understanding that the data center is not going to be discussed tonight. Is that correct?
Correct. We're
And
gonna,
when is that going to be discussed?
we'll be at the first meeting in January.
And is there a date on that?
That is,
I think.
It's 13th. What's being discussed on the 13th?
13th. Data center?
Okay. It was approved by the Planning Commission several months ago.
yeah,
And the council.
in the council.
The problem is that were the citizens really notified?
Yep.
Yes.
How?
Through public hearing. So it was
What public hearings?
posted through our normal process through the Planning Commission.
Because I'm under the understanding that there was a notice put in the McLeod County Chronicle.
Yep.
But I don't know how many people in Hutchinson or the surrounding area actually get the McLeod County Chronicle.
Sure.
So how else would I have been notified that this was
Ma'am, can
happening?
you hang on a second? Dan, you want to come up and just?
Mm-hmm. Dan, mic's not on, so.
Sorry, Dan Jochum, Planning Director for the city. Couple things. There was a conditional use permit that was applied for a data center project in the industrial park, a small data center that was approved back in the summer. I can't remember which month.
August.
All of the protocols were followed for notice to the adjoining property owners. The city's official newspaper for last year was the McLeod County Chronicle, because Hutchinson didn't have a newspaper, and I believe in order to officially have public notices, the newspaper has to be in publication for 1 year. The Hutchinson station wasn't. Everything was also noted on the city website. And at this point, the only thing that's been applied for is a conditional use permit, which means that if they would like to build the project, they can. We have not seen any applications yet for that.
Okay.
I would also note that the scale of this is like way smaller than what you're hearing in the news in terms of the project scale. And again, all the notifications, we discussed it several times at the council here. Planning Commission.
All of our agendas are posted online on our website prior to any council meeting that takes place. It's really up to the public to pay attention to those notices that are given out. On top of that, the Hutch Utilities Commission has spent several meetings talking about it as well over the past year. It's probably been discussed for 12 to 18 months at a couple different public meetings over the last, like I said, year to 2 years.
It just seems like, and I realize this is just on Facebook, but it just seems like in the Facebook community thing that's going on, there seem to be an awful lot of people that have no idea this was even happening.
Can I tell
I
you
realize
that
that you think that we as citizens need to like jump on the website and see if we can find that information, but if we don't know that this kind of stuff is going on, it's not something that everybody's gonna do on a monthly basis just to come and see what the city council is doing. I guess, in my opinion, you were hired as city council members to protect this city and to protect its citizens. And from everything that's being stated about these data centers, there's cancer concerns, there's environmental concerns, there's noise and light pollution.
There's a lot of misinformation.
Do you want to know how many phone calls I've gotten regarding the data center?
Pardon me?
Want to know how many phone calls I've received regarding the data center? 0.
I don't know that I believe that because
Okay.
I know of people that have said that they've contacted Gary Forcier and you've seen it on Facebook because I've seen you comment back on the comments there. So I find it hard to believe that you've gotten 0.
I've gotten 0 phone calls.
I've also gotten 0.
And
What
I
happens-
guess the person I talked to at length, I told them to contact either Dan or Matt, and it's up to them to do that. We do everything that we can to get the stuff out there. And like Matt said, or Dan alluded to, this data center is nothing like what's going up in Hermantown, correct, Dan?
I would ask you if you have a series of questions, to please put them together and send them to Dan and I.
And I will do that.
So we can answer, because I've, the ones that Gary had mentioned,
Yeah.
it's not even close to what the project that's getting built here or that's being proposed to be built here in Hutchinson.
And I think that what you're referring to on the Facebook is Real Life in Hutch. I wish to, and I do follow that because I take this job very seriously. By the way, we're elected, not paid. We do have a stipend, but we're elected. There is so much misinformation on there. It's off the charts. If someone, I'm going to say such as yourself, would do a little deep diving, we can't, there's no way. As Dan had stated, the McLeod County Chronicle is our way. We have to vote it. And as you said, there was, when the leader left, we were kind of left high and dry. That was a pretty quick thing. None of us wanted that to happen. And it is hard, like you said, I understand completely, you said, not many people have a subscription to the Chronicle, but that is our outlet, as is the website here. And if everybody can find it on, Real Life in Hutch, they sure as heck can look at the City of Hutch website and find it.
So I guess one of my main questions is, have there been outside studies done, not from the company itself, but have you guys done any outside studies to find out what the environmental concerns are here? What the environmental concerns are, what the health concerns are, what the electrical and possibility of water bills consumption is going to be
You did
here
say
in
you
town?
lived in Hutch. What's your physical address?
It's over on Linden Avenue.
Linden Avenue. I actually live like 3 blocks from where that data center is going. You would think that I'd be more concerned than you. Right.
Considering I just got done I'm recovering from cancer treatments, and there's a possibility that it's caused more cancer. And I personally know, since I've been diagnosed with cancer, of 12 other people in this town that have been diagnosed with cancer.
Well,
And if I, as one person, know 12
usually
people,
we give you, I've been very courteous to you. I gave you more than your 5 minutes. So if you could get all your, and to anybody else in the audience or watching on TV, if you have concerns, please write them down, get them to Dan and Matt, and they'll even meet with you if you just give them a call.
Dan, can you address the requirements for environmental studies on this project?
Yeah, so this project didn't trigger any state environmental review. Again, there's other businesses in town that have more air chillers and more things that make noise and things. And again, when the facility is built, one of the conditions that the Planning Commission and City Council put on is that a noise study needs to be completed, and it has to be within state of Minnesota noise guidelines. The system for cooling is a glycol system, so it doesn't use water. The only water that would be used for the proposed facility, like I said, that we haven't seen any building permit applications yet, is water for flushing toilets and sinks and a potential sprinkler system. They don't use, some systems use a chiller that uses water to cool. What's being talked about here isn't that. And again, the scale of this, the lot that it's located on is less than an acre. The building is like 7,000 square feet. That's not even the size of this building here. So again, I appreciate people's kind of concern, but the scale of what we're talking about here relative to what the, Amazon and Meta and all these big companies are doing, it's not even close to the same. And again, appreciate the concern. I'd be happy to get in contact with you and meet and talk about the various requirements and what's being potentially looked at for the site.
In regards to power too, they would have had to get I believe they're in discussion right now with Utilities Commission, was it a power purchase agreement? And if Hutch Utilities couldn't provide them the power, they wouldn't be able to do that. So, like I said, I've heard from the grapevine a lot of stories out on Facebook that I'm sorry, they're just not accurate in regards to this project. Now, I know there's a lot of concerns on data centers, period. A lot of those are 3 football field length long and width and stuff like that, and that's just not what's going on in town. And like I said, we've had public hearings on it, and I don't know if we had anybody even.
The other thing I would note, Matt, is that by law, we're required to send a notice to all of the property owners within 350 feet of the proposed site. And maybe Mr. Sabor, you recall, but I don't believe there was any testimony at the public hearing from a neighbor. There was one testimony from a person that had been in the audience regarding something else, and they asked a lot of the same questions you're asking, and the data center folks actually answered those questions at the public hearing. And again, it's in the minutes.
and I guess my thing is, how much do you trust the data centers? I mean, their job is to try and get themselves in town here. So how honest and truthful are they going to be? Especially since I've seen reports on a data center that went up by the cities and used a totally different reason for coming in, and now they're trying to fight that one for being there.
Yeah, that's.
That it was a
That's where
totally
the
different business.
conditional use permit comes in, correct, Dan?
Yeah, and I think we're getting in kind of the what ifs and maybes, and I don't know that we're going to be able to answer those questions in this venue here right now.
All right, my suggestion to you is get your questions and get them to Dan or Matt, or set up a meeting with them. They'd be more than happy to meet with you.
Okay.
All righty?
I could use a pen so I could write down. Oh,
I'll get you a
there it is.
business card.
Didn't think I had it, so.
Dan will get you a
I'll
business
just go
card.
grab one and give it to you right now.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we have the approval of minutes. We have the Truth and Taxation hearing of December 4th, 2025. The special meeting of December 9th, 2025. The regular meeting minutes of December 9th, 2025.
Make a motion to approve those three meetings.
Second?
Motion by Dave, second by Pat to approve those minutes. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Consent agenda, this will be done with one motion unless somebody pulls something off for discussion. A is approval of 2026 license renewals. B is approval of the 2026 invocation schedule. C is appointment of Fred Hackley to the Senior Advisory Board to January of 2029. Appointment of Tom Ripperroot to the Senior Advisory Board to January of 2025. D is approval of resolution number 15969, resolution in support of the Greater Minnesota Transportation Alternatives Grant. E is approval of resolution number 15971, resolution approving state airport fund grant agreement with Minnesota DOT for snow removal equipment building project. F is approval of engineering service agreement with Apex Engineering Group for the School Road Southwest in McLeod County State 8 Highway 7 Corridor Study Phase 1. G is approval of joint powers agreement with McLeod County for reclaiming road treatment project at McLeod County Fairgrounds. H is approval of airport south hangar and taxway repair. I is approval of update to Exhibit A of employee uniform and clothing policy. J is claims appropriation and contract payments. Is there anything that anybody wants pulled off?
Mayor and council, I'd like to have item A pulled off.
I'll make a motion to approve the balance.
Second?
Motion by Chad, second by Pat to approve the balance. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Matt.
We just had one license that was added to it, actually a couple licenses as for Flank Bar and Char, and so I just wanted to acknowledge that wasn't in the original council packet, and those were being added for consideration at tonight's meeting.
That's under on sale intoxicating and on sale Sunday liquor.
Correct.
All right.
Make a motion to approve it with those additions.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Pat to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Presentation of Minnesota DOT Merit Award for outstanding performance on the Dale Street Southwest project.
Mayor and council, I'll make this quick this evening. I know we have a lot of items, but staff wanted to recognize contractors and staff that were involved in this project after the completion of the Dale Street project this fall. Dunix had nominated the award at the Minnesota Asphalt Paving or Minnesota Paving Award event coming up this fall. And so in December, we received recognition in the County Municipal Urban State Aid New or Reconstruct category. So Chad went up there to receive it and want to not only recognize him for his support of it, but as much Justin Black, who had served in the city engineering capacity, and then Keith Messner, who retired this past year, but who had done a lot of the pre-design work on it, and then Corey Kurth, who joined us this last spring and then finished out that project. Along with Brandon in joining us. So we received this here just a few weeks ago and are hanging it at this point, and just wanted to note it tonight. And again, thank you for all of your support, as well as the support of Dunnick and good contractors and staff that we have.
All right, thank you. It was a good project. Review of council members' appointment to the city boards and commissions.
Mayor and council, this is just kind of a heads up. Our first meeting in January is our normal organizational meeting.
Yeah.
And so always like to at least bring it to this last meeting of December to see if there's any proposed changes that we can kind of prepare for that. And so, like I said, I wanted to lay out what the current appointments are. Obviously, we don't have there was an election this year that's going to change any of that. And
Well, Jason, as long as Tim's not here, should we put him on?
yeah, if you
something?
guys want to move into a bunch of boards and committees,
Yeah,
that would be the time to do it. So.
I guess the only comment I have on that is that the Downtown Association is in the process of getting up and running again.
They actually are up and running now.
Are they?
Yep.
Yeah, but I think they went through the new process, and like I said, I have that on there as not active, and I think they're probably restructuring them. So I'm thinking in future years we probably won't even have that appointment on or come January we probably won't even have that appointment on the list.
So and they're not a city committee anymore.
Correct.
So I don't know that we would have a
Yeah.
rep.
Yeah. So
Ready? Anything else on that?
yeah, like I said, it was just to kind of get that heads up. If there's something that wanted to be changed, let us know. So when we prepare our next agenda, we can do that. So.
All right. And unfinished business, second reading and adoption of ordinance number 25-868, ordinance to rezone property at 552, 554, and 564 Jefferson Street Southeast with favorable planning commission recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. If you recall, last council meeting, Matt had brought this item forward. That was from the planning commission meeting in November. We had an application for rezoning for the former building that had burned down. That was on the electric motor company site there. And there's been a number of other businesses over the years. And we have a new business looking to locate on that site. And we realized it was zoned residential back from 60, 70 years ago. So the thought was that we'd rezone that to commercial like the use had been and allow opportunity for that business to be located there. So with that, I would recommend approval of that second reading.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Go ahead.
Motion by Pat, second by Dave to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Community solar projects.
Me again. Mr. Mayor and Council, I wanted to walk you through this. This has been a project that has gained a lot of momentum here over the last week or two. And yeah, I'll get that. Oh, we need to turn it off. Just sit. Just sit. There we go. So just wanted to walk you through the details. I did put an updated board action form on your desk there also for your review. Very similar, the numbers changed a little bit, so I just wanted to make sure you had seen that in terms of the expected contribution. I'll review that here also. And the number of projects that changed from when we first submitted last week to what we received just after. So we'll talk about that here in a second. So a little bit about the project itself. It was a $20 million state project, or is a $20 million state project. $5 million originally that was set aside for Excel's service territory, and then it was expanded with an additional $15 million. We're taking part in the $15 million statewide portion of that. And it was put in place to leverage the federal program that was in existence and to run through 2030. What's kind of put all of this in fast motion was the change at the federal level to sunset that program in 2026. And so everything has been moved up by which to do that. So we're looking to, again, take advantage of it and have a number of projects for consideration that at this point have been awarded through the state that would help leverage that 30% federal match. We reviewed, JJ, myself, Dave Hunstead from Hutch Utilities, along with this Energy Management Solutions back in August, and had basically brainstormed a number of projects from roof-mounted systems to ground-mounted systems throughout the city, and had come up with 24 different projects that had potential. exchanged information all through the fall. Dave did a lot of work just providing utility information and history on statistics. Looked at different things from a building standpoint, etc. Didn't hear things for a number of weeks at a time, and then things really started to pick up here toward the end of November, just after Thanksgiving. And then last Monday, we received word that we had been awarded all of the projects except for a couple of them at that time. And then by Wednesday the 17th, just after we submitted information in the packet, found out we had received all 24. Now, after reviewing with staff, 5 of the projects we've declined, turn those proceeds back over to the state for kind of giving out to others at this point. And the 5 were things like the event center, the future of that, a bit unknown. Older roof, we thought was a good candidate for probably passing on at this time. A couple ground mounted systems that were in neighborhoods that we didn't think would be particularly well suited. And so we just stayed with what are primarily roof mounted systems with 3 kind of utility focused ones around 2 of the water facilities and 1 at wastewater between there and Hats. Here's basically the project list itself. You'll note the 19 projects. Again, this is all sites, so this does include the Hutch utilities. Sites also, they have 5. We have 14 of these projects. You see some of the numbers as far as the overall equipment costs, the total cost, the grant for state, and then the anticipated federal grant portion itself. By year end, so after tonight, if you were to look upon this favorably or some portion of it, the plan is to meet tomorrow. There's a number of things that have to be in place by the end of the year in order to take advantage and basically safe harbor the dollars with the state. So we have contracts to sign. We've received all the contracts from the state for all of the projects. We need to sign contracts with the developers. There's 3 different installers out of about 25 around the state. And then there's a 10% down payment that we need to process for each of them also, and that's to kind of meet the federal safe harbor commitment. And then also, and Mark's done a great job, Andy has been through the contracts as well as Matt and myself. Insurance and prevailing wage has been updated. The insurance, I think, across all 3 vendors are in good place. The prevailing wage addressed well in at least one, not as well in the other 2, but the state does fully expect all of these will meet prevailing wage standards and requirements, and so we'll reiterate that in the process with that. So that will be the expectation though on all of these projects. But you see roughly the money and the outlay to meet that 10% that we would be expecting to be putting forth with your approval. The real only out-of-pocket expense that we are expecting, assuming again the 70% from the state and the 30% from the federal match, would be $73,500. The $26,250 would be the Hutch Utilities portion of that. Liability-wise, there is a potential one, and it's a notable number, the highlighted number, that nearly $500,000. We've inquired, but you've certainly heard in the news, is this program, is this going to happen? Is this match legit? As I mentioned earlier, the program and the changes that have been made to it moved it from 2030 to 2026. The state person that we've talked to, our contact, while I can't guarantee anything from that standpoint, feels there's surety that the federal government will honor this match, but it is a sizable portion. And where we would go from, say, a 1 to 2 year payback, just in covering the engineering expenses, it's probably, and Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, about a 7 and 9 year. So even if we were to have to, if all things went south and we had the federal portion of it, we're looking at probably a closer to 10-year payback. Still a good project in that way, but the hope is we're looking at more of the 1 to 2 year payback in covering the engineering cost. You can see a quick kind of comparison of the 30-year savings that we anticipate. That total number, that $97,519 that you see, is citywide. So again, enterprise funds, because it's on Liquor Hutch, the compost site will have 2 installations. Water, wastewater will have Each respective site in the enterprise funds will make their contribution, but to the general fund, I think Andy estimates it's about a $30,000 a year savings in electricity, is what we would expect. Citywide, $97,519. And again, you see the breakdown to the right there as to the net costs, how those break out and how they break out by the various accounts. So a lot of information in a short amount of time, and I'd be more than happy not only to answer any questions, but to go back over any of that if you would like also.
And part of the reason why we're sitting here at the last meeting of the year asking for the council to consider this is that this project kind of all came together at the very last moment. I think it was August, September, we were notified of there's some funds out there that can be available, and the city of Hutchinson Utilities is in prime position to apply for that. The process just took us to the point where all of a sudden we found out a week ago, oh, you've been approved by the state for this. And so that's why, we're sitting here on December 23rd, basically saying, council, if you don't approve this today, that's great, but then there's no project. But I said, I think we've done a good job of vetting it. I know Mark's done a really good job of looking at all the contracts, and we feel very comfortable. The state's already told us you're getting the money from us. Like I said, I think we just need to realize with the volatility regarding mainly solar projects at the federal level, there's always the possibility. I think we feel pretty comfortable that it's going to be in play, and we don't need to worry about that. But we've been having discussions since I started here in 2015 of looking at putting solar on many of our public buildings. It just never financially made sense until now, where you're looking at 100% of those costs, or 99.5% of those costs being covered by state and federal dollars.
Yeah, you see the overall total number, almost $2.3 million of solar that would be installed. Consistency across the systems, even though we have 3 different vendors, the inverters are the same on all of them. We'll have real-time reporting that we'll be able to monitor. The state actually puts in place requirements. The system's got warranty for parts and material for the first couple of years. Expected to be 30-year life expectancies. They're good, reliable systems. Reputable vendors. The one vendor that we've worked with, Hutch Utilities has worked with in particular. So we feel good about that. Does come with some risk, but even that we feel we can manage going forward. Generally speaking, if approved, we would go into the contract signing here over these next few days. And then projects would kick off this spring, installations hopefully complete by fall. Glencoe actually they're right at the point of flipping the switch. They have an installation already in place. So the program's legitimate from that standpoint. That's how we found out about it. Dave Hunstead happened to be at a conference in July, August. Had talked to, I think, their utility manager there, who had recommended we follow up with this energy management solutions, and that's kind of what led to the 24 projects that we're looking at here tonight, 19 of the 24.
So engineers were out to look at every site?
They've looked at all of the sites, and we've met with one of the 3 installers so far too to look at the sites. So, and that to that point though, that if again the project doesn't become viable at some point due to structural issues with a roof or something else for that matter, that 10% that we initially put down here over these next the next week and a half is refundable from that standpoint. We're looking to have that assurance that we'd at least have the 10% refunded back, and that project would be taken off.
So are we looking at any roofs that need repair before this stuff?
All of the projects we have, the only one that's really of question just from a sequencing standpoint is Hats. We'll be doing that roof project this summer, most likely, again, pending approval but there's a plan to replace that roof this summer. The installation would follow it, but this roof is new, fire station is new, police station, as we know, is new. It'll go on the newest portion of the liquor hutch. Creekside, it's 2 steel sided along with the Parks Garage that all are viable in that case. Ice Arena, the rec center are all relatively new roofs.
The Rec Center, Ice Arena are new in the last 5 years. The one that was a rooftop that we took off was the Event Center, just because that's one that is old.
Yeah.
Didn't make sense, but all the other buildings that we're looking at are probably done within the last 5 years, except for maybe Liquor Hutch, but that's last,
Portion
yeah.
of though, and that's the portion we're hoping to do it on. And not to, because it would be a hassle if we were to have to dismantle, but it's not a terrible thing. These are large systems, but they're not terribly large. Generally speaking, all of our flat roofs, they're ballasted systems, so kind of a weighted skid that will hold them. So to take them apart or dismantle for a roof project, half a day. It's not a large undertaking by which to do.
So if we, when they hook up the system, it's got to be inspected by someone. I don't know who that someone is. But I know of one instance of a array that they came in and inspected and said, no, you can't do it that way. You got to do it this way. And I'm just curious, are we going to have any sort of a contingency fund that could take care of that error in whatever it might be?
I'll maybe defer to Mark, but I'll say a little bit to him. There's a lot of language in the contracts from an indemnification standpoint, both in the vendor contracts as well as the state contracts, that should cover that, with my understanding of, but I'll maybe let our legal expert weigh in on that. But it's my understanding we would be covered. Again, professional engineer we're paying for, that $73,500 after the state match is to cover the electrical engineering expertise that comes with it. And then all the systems, again, have a guarantee and warranty period to follow for both parts and material, or parts and labor.
Okay. I'm not sure that I totally agree with their lifetime on the panels, but then that's my own personal opinion, so I'm...
Yeah, and I wouldn't say lifetime, but I would say 30 years would be generally what we should be able to expect from them. I mean, we'll see some degradation as the years go, but, we fully expect that 30 years from now, those systems should be in
So if
place.
a panel fails...
Panels fail, you can take out a panel and replace. Same with the inverters. And I will mention too, a little bit of a caveat there, double-sided panels. So a little bit new these days is that they have the ability on a roof or even on a ground-mounted system where both sides of the panel, unlike just the single side, both sides actually have the ability to create energy in that regard.
Dave, I'll give you a couple different examples. The solar array that went out in Industrial Park, was that 4 years ago now, 5 years ago?
4 or 5.
4 or 5 years ago. None of the panels have failed yet, and they've had to replace one inverter.
I think one inverter. And it was a $300 inverter, and we're expecting very similar inverters.
Now, to be fully fair and transparent, that's not the same case with the solar array project that we did out at the wastewater plant in 2015. The company that did that went out of business, but luckily we were able, I think, to get some of those in advance. But, I don't think we've replaced any panels. It's
Correct.
just
the inverters in there are a much different inverter, kind of a one-off, if you were to say that those have caused us issues. But the panels we've not had any issue with. We've had some inverter issues with those, but yeah, completely different project than what the one most recently done at Hutch Utilities and what we're expecting here.
I just trying. I'm thinking we have your bottom side covered with both hands, but sometimes there's a loophole somewhere that don't quite cover that, and I'm more concerned about that because it's costly. And I know I'm going to refer to the motel out there when they put that in. The inspector come in and didn't pass it, and by the time they got done, he had another $50,000 stuck into the system to try and make it come to what the inspector would do, and I really don't want to see that happen. I'm not an expert by any means, but I've been doing in solar for the last 50 years, and basically, I read a lot, and a lot of it's good, but there's still a lot of things that are up in the air a little bit, so they haven't got to figure it out yet. When they figure out how to store it, then I'll go with them.
I agree.
But thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the projects.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Pat to approve the solar project. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. We have resolution number 15966, resolution accepting quotes and awarding contract for Roberts Park Lighting Project underground electrical installation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Included in your packet this evening was a resolution to accept the quote and award the contract with Kilmer Electric. City staff have been collaborating with Sports Lighting Authority for Roberts Park lighting project, which was previously approved by City Council. And the work has already began, and they will continue the work within the next couple weeks. But during their initial phases of the project, they realized that the underground wiring is not adequate for the new equipment that will be installed. They did some initial tests, which was Starry Electric, and they went around and tested all of the existing underground wiring. And in their research, they found that it wasn't adequate. We actually hired a third-party contractor to come in, Design Electric, to run those same tests to make sure that we were doing due diligence with the project. In their findings, they found the same thing, that the underground wiring was not adequate for the existing wire for the new equipment. So we worked with SLA and rebid the electrical underground wiring. We received 4 quotes. They were included in your packet this evening. Kilmer Electric was the low quote. With that, there will be some changes to our initial bid that Starry put out there. There will be $23,000 in deductions because the initial bid included a ground wire that was going to be ran. With that change, we're looking at the new contract amount with Starry Electric to be deducted by $23,000, bringing that down to $83,685. With the project total for the electrical work, we're still way under the original quote, or the original quotes and bids that we put out with SLA when they did their first initial estimates. We did meet with the facility committee to go over the changes, and they could work it into the facility plan for this year yet. So staff is requesting to approve an award of the project to Kilmer Electric this evening.
Mayor, just to add, this is a conversation that Lynn and I had, was the original project was a replacement of the lights and the poles out there. And my worry is that if we don't do the underground, our second game of the year when we put on the new lights and with the new poles that they don't turn on, and then everyone's looking at us like, what did you spend all the money on? And so it wasn't necessarily a part of the original plan. It still falls within the, I would say, the budget of what the original plan was, but I think it's really going to put that park in place for the next 50, 60 years where we shouldn't have to touch it again. So
A couple other things too with the original ground wiring that we would have to run with the existing wire. We'd have a lot of field restoration as well in the spring. With this new wiring, we won't have that as well, which will be a cost savings for us outside of the project.
Anything else for Lynn?
Yeah, we just, I'd like to wish Lynn a happy birthday. It's her birthday today.
Thanks, Chad.
Yeah, no
I was
problem.
going to wait to the very end to mention.
Well, I think she's gonna head out and celebrate Christmas.
No, she's got the very last item on here.
Yeah. We'll be here still.
I don't wanna run that risk that she's gonna blow out of here, so, but it just should be noted for the public record, it is your birthday. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
With that,
I'd make a motion to approve the project.
Second.
motion by Chad, second by Dave to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thanks.
Thank you.
Resolution number 15970, resolution ratifying action taken by the city administrator pertaining to PFAS chemicals.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As I mentioned in the board action form a couple of years ago, the city received notifications that it could participate in class action lawsuits against 3M or DuPont Corporation to make a claim for PFAS chemicals in our groundwater supply. As part of that litigation, the cities could participate in it, or they could opt out of the litigation, preserve claims for the future if they wanted to do that. We do not have an issue with PFAS in our groundwater, or we never have had an issue with PFAS in our groundwater. So,
At least today. So.
yeah, exactly, and that's to date. I mean, who knows about the future, and that's part of the discussion here tonight. But Matt and I had an opportunity to talk about that, and some discussions with Mike Stifter as well about the not having an issue with PFAS contamination in our water. But Matt and I talked about it, and with these litigation packets, there were forms that could be submitted to the law firms representing 3M and DuPont to opt out of litigation and preserve future claims if we ever had an issue with PFAS in the future. So those forms were submitted to those respective law firms back in the fall or December of 2023. I periodically check with Mike about the PFAS situation. We still don't have an issue with it. But Matt and I were talking about this whole situation a month and a half ago, and believe it or not, I'm not going to be around here forever. So we thought it would be a good idea to have this at a council meeting to make a record of it and pass this resolution so the council was aware of the action that Matt took based on my advice to him, so that the city can preserve any claims it might have to pursue litigation in the future if we ever do have an issue with PFAS in our groundwater. So I'm asking you to approve this resolution ratifying the action that Matt took based on my advice, and hopefully we don't have an issue in the future, but if we do, we can act upon it.
More or less, this is just to have a record somewhere down the road, because, I mean, I think Mark's got a good 50 years left with the city. But
I would hope so.
But after that, we're going to have some sort of record that we can fall back on, so,
At least 40 years.
yeah. So,
Well, I think the city should be well recommended if we haven't had PFAS that shows up in the water system. So I think that's phenomenal in all actuality.
Yeah, and 3M does a really good job of segregating all those chemicals, so.
Good job.
I'd make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Dave to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. First reading of ordinance number 25-870. An ordinance authorizing sale of municipal owned land to Castle Holdings LLC.
Okay, thank you once again, Mayor and Council. So before you tonight is a, I guess I'll call it a land transfer agreement between the city of Hutchinson and Castle Holdings, which is the parent company of Mitke, who, as you know, redeveloped the Shopko store in downtown. Basically, the deal in a nutshell is this. The city currently owns this parcel of land here on the south side of the Shopko or Mitke building. What's being proposed is that we would transfer that parcel of land to Mitke. In exchange, they would be in a separate agreement, which would be approved in January 13th, if you approve this ordinance tonight. They would be giving the city 17 parking spaces here adjacent to Fireman's Park, as long as giving us an easement. We have a ton of infrastructure in this parcel here, city, gas and electric, preserving easements there, drainage easements up here, and then stormwater easements in this area of their parking lot. So basically, they would be getting this small unbuildable lot that has a lot of our infrastructure in it, in exchange giving us these parking spaces and then preserving these easements to protect the city's infrastructure in the future. So I'd be asking for you to approve that transfer agreement for the first reading the second reading in January, along with this easement agreement that I'll be giving to you at that time.
So with all the stuff we have in that little piece, are they planning on building on it, or what do they want it?
Nope, they're aware that they cannot build on it. So they would like it to be able to perform maintenance on this side of their building, to at least be able to access the building. And there has been talk about perhaps having a small picnic table area or whatever for their employees.
That's what I was gonna say, cause I know their break room's right off this here, that side there, so they probably have a little
Yeah.
patio out there for their workers.
And the other point obviously is for them to have one cohesive lot here.
So we would inherit the taking care of those 17 spaces there, Mark?
Nope, actually, that's one of the beauties of this easement agreement is they're going to be responsible for all the maintenance, snow removal, parking lot maintenance, all of that. We would just be having access on behalf of the city residents to use those 17 spaces, as I said, for access to Fireman's Park.
Sounds like a good trade-off.
It really is.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I will second it. Motion by Chad, second by myself to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Resolution number 15968, resolution adopting attachment E of the Hutchinson City Employment Handbook Personal Policy, creating the Minnesota Paid Leave Policy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this policy is actually a template that's provided by the League of Minnesota Cities, which is really handy. But it does need to be approved to be implemented by January 1st when the law goes into effect. So just a quick little recap. Minnesota paid leave was in the 2023 session. That was a big session that passed that, as well as the earn sick and safe time. But Minnesota paid leave is finally going into effect January 1st, 2026. So basically this just goes over the city's policy. This will be attached to the existing handbook. When we have an updated handbook, this will get folded right in. But ultimately just goes over eligibility, goes over what the law is, what the protections are, talks a little bit about the wage replacement as well as the job protections that are in there, and then just kind of gives you all the definitions. I mean, it's really just covering how the city is going to apply the Minnesota paid leave. And as a reminder, we did go with a equivalent plan through MetLife, so we're not going through the state program at this point, but the MetLife program really has to abide with the law, so it's very similar. We just have a better rate. Are there any questions after you kind of looked at this policy? Okay, I would ask for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Pat to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Approval of the 2026 enterprise fund budgets.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members.
Andy, do you want to go through these one at a time, or?
I could go through them all at one time and then come back to you, and if you want to approve them individually or all in one shot, it's up to you.
Is it all right if we
I think we usually do it in one shot.
One shot, okay. Yes, we'll do that, Andy, thanks.
Let's see. All right, I'm not going to go through these budgets in too much detail. We did have a budget workshop back in November where Matt Yannick reviewed each of these budgets, and not a whole lot has changed since that time. There was some changes due to employee elections to health and dental plans based on the open enrollment period. And then we also had a 30% reduction in our workers' compensation premiums here at the end of the year, which some of that was factored in, but not all of it. So those are mainly the changes that we saw with these enterprise fund budgets since November. And just to reiterate what Matt has pointed out in previous presentations as well, these funds in total are transferring $920,000 into the general fund to reduce our general fund tax levy. So without that $920,000, we would be increasing our general fund, or I'm sorry, our city tax levy in total by 9.3%, which would impact the median home value, paying an additional $139 in taxes if we didn't have those transfers. So I'm not going to go into too much detail here. I'll just hit the summary points, but each of our funds are very healthy financially. Starting with the liquor fund, you can see the bottom line, $972 positive net revenue here, which means our revenues are exceeding our expenditures. And then in the green and blue, you can see our net change in cash for the year, just under $61,000 of positive cash flow. But if we back out our capital outlay and transfers out, we get to a cash provided by operations of just under $641,000. So very, very healthy fund, able to transfer that $550,000 to the general fund in addition to meeting its capital needs. And then we'll actually build our cash balance at the end of 2026. Water fund, a little bit different. It has a net loss projected for the year of about $872,000. And that's mainly because we budget for depreciation expense within these enterprise funds. And you can see that's a fairly substantial number, $1.25 million, depreciating the extensive amount of capital assets we have within the water fund. And then we do have a little larger capital outlay for the year as well, $862,000. But the bottom line, even though we're showing a net loss, we're generating $378,000 of positive cash flow for the year, and then cash provided by operations just under $1.45 million, which allows us to do those capital outlays and transfers to the general fund. And then again, we expect a very healthy cash balance at the end of the year, over $4.7 million. Wastewater fund, very similar. Looking at a net loss of $1,255,000. But if we look at the cash, we expect a positive cash flow of just under $105,000 and cash provided by operations of a little over $2.26 million. And then you can see the cash balance. We expect over $7.3 million of cash balance in this fund. This fund's a little different. This year, we're anticipating issuing some bonds to help fund the biosolid project. So our capital expenditures are a little higher, $4.7 million, a little higher than normal. But then we're factoring in a little over $2.8 million in bond proceeds to help fund that project. Stormwater fund, we're anticipating an 8% increase to the stormwater rates. That's factored into the revenues. And looking at a $281,000 net loss, again due to depreciation mainly and capital expenditures. But as we break it down, we're expecting a positive cash flow for the year of just under $19,000, and then cash provided by operations of just under $590,000. And then a balance expected at the end of the year exceeding $1.1 million in cash. Refuse fund, this is the third consecutive year of 5% rate increases, so that is factored into the revenue. We're anticipating a net loss of $216,213. And then in the green box and blue box, you can see we're expecting positive cash flow of just under $19,000, and then cash provided by operations of $153,000 and some change. And then this fund is the one that's a little more challenging just because we're getting close to our target cash balance. Expecting a balance of about 783,000 at the end of the year. And that's mainly one of the reasons why we're looking at these rate increases each year. Cost of hauling our trash and disposing of the trash and the hard goods has just been increasing at a greater rate than it was prior years. So we need to keep an eye on this fund, I guess, is what I'm trying to communicate, just to preserve that cash balance. Compost fund anticipates a little better year in 2026, mainly because they have a Bitcoin supply in that bulk sales category. As you recall, Bitcoin, we typically crush it every other year just because we don't receive a significant amount of asphalt and concrete to crush every year. So we're on an every other year cycle of having Bitcoin available for sales revenue. Our bottom line expected to have a net loss of 230,000. But if we look at our cash flow, positive net cash on the year of a little under 139,000, and then cash provided by operations of just a little under 614,000. And you can see our cash balance estimated at a little over 2.7 million at the end of 2026. That's just a summary. I've included that in the packet, a summary of all the funds together. In total, we're generating over 25.5 million in revenues within these funds and over 28 million in expenditures. And then that bottom line in the green bar, generating over 5.7 million in cash from operations. So that's all I really had to go through with you. So I know it went through pretty quickly, so I'll just open it up to any questions or comments you have. And if there are none, I ask you to approve.
Alrighty, we have resolution number 15952, resolution approving the 2026 liquor fund budget. We have resolution number 15953, resolution approving the 2026 water fund budget. Resolution number 15954, resolution approving the 2026 wastewater fund budget. And resolution number 15955, resolution approving the 2026 stormwater fund budget. And resolution number 15956, resolution approving 2026 refuge fund budget. And resolution number 15957, resolution approving the 2026 compost fund budget.
Make a motion to approve them all.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Pat to approve all the resolutions. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Resolution number 15958, resolution adopting the 2026 general fund budget.
Okay, similar to the last agenda item, I'm not going to go through this in detail. Matt Yannick just went through this in more detail at the Truth and Taxation meeting. So I'll just note, since that Truth and Taxation meeting, we've been able to reduce the tax levy by a little over 57,000, and some of that's related to some retirements at the police department, and then some of it's also related to the workers' compensation rates coming down further than we expected. And then we did add in an expenditure, I think it's the last agenda item tonight in front of you, we did add in a campground host that Park and Rec has proposed into the budget, so that is factored into what you're looking at tonight. So in total, we're looking at a balanced budget with revenues and expenditures totaling $16,548,658. That's a 5.3% increase over the 2025 budget. And then I did include this in the packet. I believe Tim Burley had maybe requested to see the new positions factored into the budget. So that's what the top half of this sheet shows you, is the new positions, which include an IT technician, engineering technician, that campground seasonal host, you can see that there as well. And then the aquatics and recreation program, I know we've mentioned this before, that was actually approved for 2025, but it never was entered into the budget. We had a little snafu there where it didn't get into the budget, so unfortunately that's a hit to the 2026 budget now. So in total, 224,000 roughly of new wages and benefits within this budget, which would be about a 3.3% tax levy impact. And some of that engineering technician position is being allocated out to water, wastewater, stormwater, so that's not entirely within the general fund. And then below that, you can see some of the other items affecting the wages and benefits category for the year, with employee performance reviews being the biggest increase. Health insurance premiums increasing 14% also had a big impact. And then you can see some of the other items, some of the other major items affecting the budget. The top half of this sheet shows what council approved for a preliminary tax levy back in September for the general fund, which we're talking about with this agenda item. We had projected the tax levy to increase 11.3%. So that's up there. Now we're looking at a 7.8% increase. So we were able to bring the tax levy down $236,000 since September. It's about a 3.5% decrease. And then our overall city tax levy is at 6.3%, and we'll talk about that in another agenda item, but that's down about 2.9% since September. And then the impact on the median home value, $275,000 valued home, they're looking at about an additional $52 in city taxes based on this budget that you're looking at tonight. I put this together mainly for the budget book, but thought I would share it tonight just briefly. The top half shows what the taxes would be for the median home value, $1,482, but that would be broken out by the debt fund, $392 for the debt service, and it would be paying $1,090 towards all these general fund services. So you can see how that's broken up amongst the various categories within our general fund. But what I really wanted to show you, because sometimes people don't really put it into perspective, but at the bottom here, it might be kind of small for you to see, I broke that down into a monthly cost. So this median home is paying $35.42, or will be paying $35.42 for public safety services in 2026. Another $32.67 for our debt service, which that's essentially, some of it's for our police facility debt, but a lot of it's for our roadway debt. So that's really street improvements. And then general government, about $23.65 a month. So I put this together hoping that people would be able to take this data, compare it to their other monthly bills, and maybe get a sense that, hey, $18.63 for all these cultural recreational opportunities isn't too bad of a deal. So I just thought I would show that to you guys tonight. And then the 5-year forecast, which we look at each year based on inflationary assumptions, indicates that over the next 5 years, in red here, I'd be anticipating a tax levy increase between 6 to 7.5%. And that's kind of what we've been looking at here the last few years as well, barring any big swings either way with revenues or expenditures. And then the detailed budget is in your packet as well. But that's all I had for you tonight for the general fund budget, so I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions on the
No, looks good. I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
motion by Chad, second by Dave to approve? Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Have resolution number 15959, resolution adopting the 2026 general fund and debt service final tax levy.
All right, we just went through the general fund. As I mentioned, I explained the differences since the September preliminary levies. We've actually brought the total levy down by over 271,000 since September. The one thing we haven't touched on yet is the debt levy, kind of in this section here of the board action form. We've brought that down almost 35,000 since September, and that's mainly due to our actual bond sale factored into the debt levy, which we sold bonds in October, so unfortunately that was after we had to set our preliminary levy. So the resolution in front of you tonight shows a general fund levy of $7,226,682. We have our tax abatement levy of $25,000. That's for Uponor. And then you can see the various debt funds that we have. Majority of them are the special improvement assessment bonds. But then we also do have some other types of GO bonds related to the police facility, tax abatement, and street reconstruction. So in total, our total debt tax levy is $2,610,792, giving us a total final tax levy with general fund combined, $9,862,474. And we already took a quick peek at this, but I'll just reiterate, we're looking at a 6.3% overall tax levy increase, down from the 9.2 back in September. And then again, this would result in about a $52 increase to the median home values city taxes. And then the debt levy, we look at this each year as well. You can see the debt levy is projected to rise moderately over the next five years or so until it stabilizes in 2030. And the main reason behind that increase, I know we've added the police debt, but that's not the reason why it's continuing to increase. That levy is continuing to increase because of the roadway improvements we're doing. Back in 2016, we actually increased our debt load for those roadway projects, knowing that would increase future debt levies, and that's why we're seeing this increase. So that's all I had for the general fund and debt tax levies, unless you guys have any questions.
Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Pat to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Resolution number 15963, resolution adopting the 2026 compensation plan position classification table and pay grid.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I was just watching you do that present mode. How do you do that, Andy? Down here?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. All right, so we're here to talk about the 2026. This is for our regular positions, our compensation plan position classification table and pay grid. So the plan is essentially the same as it has been the last handful of years with a few adjustments. So the first one would be the addition of the senior network administrator position, which is the IT position that's being added, the addition of the engineering specialist, and then a couple of title changes, as well as removal of a couple obsolete positions that were that I forgot to remove in prior approvals of the classification table. Worth noting, 3% grid shift doesn't automatically adjust the wages, but of course adjusts the grid in which we apply the comp ratio and increases for the performance pay. But essentially the plan is staying similar. I did call out right here in this portion here that I did add a little bit of language that addresses the additional compensation that the city provides in the form of the annual picnic, the holiday party, and then plant or floral arrangements for when somebody has a new baby, if there's a funeral in the family, or if they have an overnight stay in the hospital for surgery. Ultimately, the wage committee looked at that 3% increase, and then I would like to remind the council that 2026 is the year that we are scheduled to review the compensation plan, as well as our kind of market data that's out there. So 2026 will be a good year for you to provide additional feedback to myself and Matt on whether you want to change kind of the compensation philosophy that the city has in place. I'll pause, and are there any questions on the classification table, compensation plan, pay grid for regular employees?
Any questions for Kelly? Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Dave to approve. Other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Resolution number 15964, resolution adopting the 2026 seasonal temporary part-time compensation plan, pay level, table, and pay schedule.
Yeah, so this one also very similar to what it has been the last couple years. Biggest adjustment would be in 2025, as the wage committee talked about the grid shifts for the regular grid. We kind of adopted a rule of thumb that we would do about half of what the regular grid was going to shift and apply that to our seasonal temporary and part-time pay schedule. So this has been adjusted by 1.5% from the 2025 pay grid, and then there has been some adjustments to the position classification table here. Specifically, a little bit of an adjustment for our concessions, which allows our aquatic center admissions and concessions to kind of swap back and forth, which is really helpful for them, as well as the addition of that campground host, which is on the agenda for discussion later tonight. Any questions about this compensation plan for the seasonal, temporary, and part-time folks?
Any questions?
Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Pat to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. We have resolution number 15965, resolution amending paid on-call firefighter compensation plan.
All right, this is the last one. So this is not one that we typically look at every single year. I think it is called out that at a minimum we'll look at it every 5 years. We did have a slight adjustment for this year. We made one correction under the wage section, which indicates how we round up. What had been written in there wasn't what was in practice, and so now what's written here is what has been in practice for the last 20 years, according to Chief Schumann. The second adjustment is under the pay periods. Here I added a little bit of language that allows some flexibility now that we added an hourly position under the fire department, which is, if you'll recall, the fire inspector / firefighter. That position at this point in time has a majority of their responsibilities that are related to inspector, fire inspection, as well as some education, but there's still a good amount of fire emergency response. So the language in there allows some flexibility for that employee to be able, if they have pre-approved leave time, to either have it reduced, which is our typical practice, so that they can save that leave time for later. But this is more language for in the future when that individual has larger banks of leave, to allow that individual to choose to have their leave time paid at a straight rate. It would never be at an overtime rate if it went over 40 hours, but it gives a little bit of flexibility for this position that is required to have a lot of emergency response throughout the week, and potentially weeks where they're trying to take a little bit of leave time as well. Any questions about the firefighter or the paid on-call firefighter compensation plan?
I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Dave to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
We have resolution number 15967, adopting the 2026 City of Hutchinson fee schedule.
Good evening, Mayor. Somebody new to hear from. You've had to hear from Andy enough, so I'm just trying to relieve you for a few
I
minutes.
was
at
gonna
least.
tease you that you just sat there, but made Andy do all the work, but I guess I was wrong, I admit it.
Well, good evening. Before you tonight is a 2026 fee schedule. Do you want me to pull it up? It's the same thing that Matt had brought forth in October, I believe that it was. But we've gone through, Andy and I and a lot of the different city departments to go through and try to do a more in-depth analysis of our fees to try to make sure that those aren't lagging too far behind what our expenses have increased over the years. So the biggest increases that we've seen or kind of gone through would be park and rec and then business licenses, I would say, on top of the refuse increases that Andy's talked about over the past couple of years here. So after going through that and doing some financial analysis of what those fee increases may do for our budget to try to help offset our tax levy, those increases have decreased our tax levy by about 1% for that general fund tax levy. So it has had an impact on what you guys have done so far tonight. Like I said, no changes from what Matt had brought forth back in October. So any questions that you guys might have at this time?
So just know, one of the directives from the council this past spring was to put more, if you want to say, onus on users, and I would say that's what this fee schedule does.
Could you bring up the page that has the schedules on, please?
Yes, sir. Are there any in particular that you would like to see?
No, I just looking for the home audience to kind of see the schedules.
Yeah,
You know, being as we have, maybe a little or participation within our meetings and, what they're looking at on the website and whatnot.
Right.
Just to show that, that there are that many, fee schedules that we have out there, so.
There are, if I'm reading that right, we have 24 pages? Is that what that says, Justin?
Yeah, 24 pages of it.
Yeah.
Yep, and this will be posted on the city website here shortly after the new year, so that all the updated information is there for everybody.
I'd like to have you go through that line by line.
All right, so the event center, with a lot of the,
Boy, they wanna beat you up right away.
Well, we don't hear from them that often, so.
Yeah, I know.
that's what I'm here for.
I'd make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Pat
Thank
to
you.
approve the 2026 fee schedule. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We have resolution number 15960, resolution adopting the 2026 HRA final tax levy.
Oh, good evening again. Just as I pull this up, I just wanted to mention that last agenda item. When I started here 14 years ago, our tax levy accounted for about 40% of the general fund budget, and charges for services were about 21% of our budget. Now we're at about 44% taxes and 16% services and charges. So you can see how that's kind of got out of whack. Which might indicate our expense has been increasing at a faster rate. Let me get this open here. Justin, of course, had to shut my folder. HRA tax levy. I don't know if I can be as excited as Justin. You couldn't tell? All right. We've talked about HRA and EDA tax levies before, especially back in September. These are special taxing districts, and by such, their tax levies are controlled by state statute. And you can see in the middle of this resolution, the calculation, it's based on a percentage of the city's estimated total market value. And for the HRA, that maximum levy amount comes to a little over $292,000. But the HRA board is requesting only $173,000 to fund their operations for 2026. So that's what I'm asking the city council to approve tonight for the HRA. Tax levy, $173,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dave, second by Pat to approve the HRA tax levy. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries.
I just want to thank Dave. He had stopped a streak of Chad being the first one to
Yeah.
motion there, so that was.
Well, and EDA was thin today too. I've been making motions all day.
The slow learner.
You earned your dollar, though.
I did. We got paid today.
According to the scorecard, that's the second one Dave started, so that's good. Resolution number 15961, resolution adopting the 2026 EDA final tax levy.
Okay, similar to the HRA, this levy is guided by state statutes essentially, and the maximum levy amount is $286,437, and that is what the EDA board is requesting for its tax levy to fund operations for 2026.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Pat, second by Dave to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
5-year capital improvement plan.
Mayor and council, we've gone over this at both one of our workshops, I believe in August, and then at our truth and taxation hearing. This is the 5-year CIP that we go through each and every year for looking at our next 5 years. You know, Andy did a good job of kind of highlighting some of the maybe bigger projects that are noted within the next year, but I would say there hasn't been any significant changes to the CIP since we looked at it in August and then approved it in and then as we went through it at the preliminary and the truth and taxation hearing. So,
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Pat, second by Dave to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries.
since it's her birthday, I specifically had
You do this on purpose?
the very last agenda item so she could enjoy her time at a city council meeting. So
There is no one I'd rather spend my birthday with. So thanks for spending it with me.
Establishment of Masonic West River Campground Host Program.
Good evening, Mayor and Council again. Included in your packet this evening is a memo to add a campground host program to Masonic West River Campground. We're super excited about this addition, as we've been talking about this for a couple of years. A campground host would essentially really help us with our operations of our campground. Having an extra set of eyes and ears down there to help assist with some low maintenance duties, along with being eyes and ears down there for our staff. Some other duties would be greeting and assisting campers to get into the right sites. We surprisingly have a really big problem with that at our campground. We've had a lot of call-ins for our full-time staff because our campers will show up at the campground and someone will be in their site already. That happens probably at least once or twice a week throughout the entire camping season. So that'll be one of the biggest additions for this. This is a model that's used by a lot of municipal campgrounds throughout the state, whether they're city-owned, county-owned, different things like that. So we did some research, looked around to see kind of what model different campgrounds had, and called around and kind of asked what worked for them, what didn't work. And then also did some alignment with our local county campgrounds that also have a campground host program. So a couple things to note. I'm working with Kelly currently on establishing the job description. So we'll go through and vet that, but included in the seasonal grid is that position. So looking at also compensating this person with a seasonal wage. Andy Reid had factored that into our budget. So there will be a little bit of a budget impact due to the seasonal wages, but we do hope that that will be offset by our call-ins that we do have with our full-time employees right now. So we're looking at about $11,000 budget impact for seasonal wages. We're going to learn a lot this first year because we budgeted on the high end of that. We don't anticipate having our campground hosts there every single week. Right now we factored in the whole season, which runs May to October. We don't foresee really needing someone probably early in the camping season and late in the later part of the season. Our bulk of the season, June, July, August, and September, is really when we'll need this campground host. So what we're looking at doing is converting site number 1 into the campground host's kind of seasonal spot. So they will be able to stay there through the duration of the camping season. Again, having some flexibility based on their schedules too, to allow for them to be gone if needed as well. So we will take site 1 off of our registration system. So there'll be a little bit of an impact there as well with revenues coming in. But we did an analysis of site 1. It's not our most heavily rented site. It's rented about 50% of the season. So we anticipate people that were maybe in that site, they'll find a different site. Maybe for the lower usage of that, it's right next to the dump site. And then it's also the first thing when you come into the campground. But we wanted that campground host to be very visible when you arrive. And so that if patrons come in and have questions, they'll be visible for the campers as well. Lots of things to work out this first year, but we're really excited about the program.
The campground was really busy last year, correct?
It was, yes.
Last couple of years.
Last couple of years, yeah.
I think it's a great addition.
The other thing to note too that I forgot to add, we did increase the rates for rental of the campground included in the fee schedule. All of these sites have now been raised $5. So there should be a little bit of additional revenue generated from that fee increase as well too.
Any other questions for Lynn?
Did I see a little blurb, Lynn, about possibly tying that in with the canoe rental, or
Yes.
there was something in there that you would?
Yeah, so that's something that we will look in the future. If after this kind of first year, we'll see how it goes with them doing some hours of work, about 10 to 15 hours a week. If that's something that we can reestablish as well and have them open up the canoe rentals. This first year is going to be a big learning curve for us, and then we can kind of add things and change things as we see fit for the next couple seasons.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Pat, second by Chad to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Governance, we have the City of Hutchinson Financial Report and Investment Report for November 2025. The Price Board Minutes of November 3rd and December 1st, 2025. Hutchinson Utilities Commission Minutes from October 29th and November 26th, 2025. Brandon, do you got anything else for us? Mike? Lynn? Is someone calling you that you have to?
Not my family Christmas.
Brandon? Oh. Kelly? Andy? Justin?
Merry Christmas.
All right. Mark? You got
Nothing else
anything?
tonight.
Matt?
Just a couple reminders, mainly for the public, but city offices will close at noon tomorrow. And we'll be closed all day on Thursday for the Christmas holiday. And then again, next Thursday for the New Year's holiday. And then I just want to, I guess, clarify something. It was noted that there was going to be discussion in January on the data center.
That was my fault.
Okay.
Because I told the gal that we had a real busy meeting this meeting, so I would have public comment taken on the first meeting.
Okay.
And I didn't say that we were gonna schedule it, it's my fault.
Okay.
But I did, say that.
I just wanted to clarify because I'm like, staff was looking at me like, what's going on in,
No, that was
in
my
January.
fault, 'cause
No,
I
okay.
should have clarified that we were gonna take public comment on that first meeting in January.
And I just want to reiterate too, and hopefully I didn't sound offensive earlier. There's a lot of things that go on social media, and I would just encourage the public to call City Hall. I've heard rumors that the city, approved this data center under the table and all of that, and I just want to reiterate, we follow all the state statutes, and I think it's something that staff takes, something's very serious, and so, notifications that were done for that project were just like every other project that's been done in town. And so I would encourage people, if you got concerns on how that's done, call us. That's what I meant. I'm not lying. Nobody's called me on apparently all their concerns regarding the data center, and the same with Dan. I know a couple of you have gotten emails, but I would be more than willing to answer some of those questions, and some of them maybe we can answer, and maybe some of them are then policy discussion items for the council. But I just wanted to make sure that, so that's what staff is here for, is to help answer really not only the council members, but the public's questions regarding any project.
On that note, Matt, I know I came in and talked to you before I even contacted that lady, because it was on Facebook and there was a lot of misinformation. So I just took it upon myself to call her and tell her that if she had questions to come in and talk to you guys. But evidently, I must have done a good job because she didn't come in.
Yeah, we have not had anybody contact us. So that was it. All right, nope, that's it.
All right, Chad, let's start with you.
Everybody have a Merry Christmas.
All right, Dave.
Echo that Merry Christmas, and everyone be safe.
Yeah, Pat.
Same here, Merry Christmas.
All right, well, didn't you guys have any meetings? Must not have.
We had a good EDA meeting today, and
Anything important coming up?
the landing project has really taken off, and the hotel project is continuing on. So those are the two big things.
Good point. I was thinking of the landing.
Yeah.
And then if someone could answer a question for me, what's going on in the corner of,
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows that.
is that right? I mean,
Private, my assumption is that the individual that owns those lots, I believe, owns the corner lot. And my assumption is maybe he's trying to prepare that lot to make it more attractive to sell. But there's,
well, let's hope that's what it is.
yep, there's nothing, nothing's been submitted to the city for any plans.
That's what I've been telling people, that is trying to make it more saleable.
All right.
Because I think the DOT, Mike,
There's some access issues with that lot.
the access.
Yeah, there's no access
Piece
to
of
that.
it?
There's no access currently to that corner lot.
have to continue to go further west to be able to gain enough access, I think, to meet NDOT's specifications. So it's pretty restricted.
Would they want to have, I suppose, an access road, for like a frontage road?
I would,
Less?
yeah, I would say at this point, all that is speculation, because
Yeah.
the owner has not, not like they have to, but there's nothing that's been submitted to the city for any plans.
Well, I only hope all those with the questions are listening tonight.
Yeah, no, I chuckle because I think almost everybody I run into from the public asks me that exact same question about what's going on there, and it's nothing that's been submitted to the city anyways, so.
All right. Well, I did have a couple meetings. I had an airport meeting, and as you guys seen in our packet, we had have some taxiway updates. They're going to do some maintenance on it. We are getting a shed to that. We're going to have our own snow removal equipment out there. So they're putting up a shed for that. HRA, now this is from the Minnesota or the Minneapolis area realtors, what they have down for now. This is in November 2025. We had 15 new listings in Hutch, and we had 24 closed sales. So there's some movement of houses. I did just wanted to mention and thank everybody for all the work that they put in on decorating their houses. I mean, there's a lot of nice Christmas displays around town. So if you get a chance, drive around and take a look. I know the park is really lit up. And the other thing I wanted to mention is I'd like to just take maybe a moment or two and just think of the servicemen and women that are out there protecting our country. they're not gonna be home for Christmas, so if we could just maybe bow our heads and take a minute and think about them, please.
Amen.
All right, everybody have a Merry Christmas, be safe with travels, and,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
motion by Pat, second by Chad.
Can we really say, we'll see you next year?
Sure, why not? Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.